Hello fellow AFL enjoyers, it's Matty here with another Supercoach video, and I thought since we're not doing a main pod this week, I'll just do another Supercoach video so I can, keep the two videos a week going. I'm finalising my trades, and I've just come to the decision I've got to get DAICOS for enjoyment reasons, for AFL enjoying reasons. I won't be able to watch Collingwood games anymore if I don't have him, and also, look, his break even is super low, so this is cheap for him. This is cheap. 54 break even, 608 is still cheap for Nick DAICOS. It means that there is a sacrifice that I have to make, which is not good. There's a bit of sacrificing I have to do in regards to cash gen, which that's not ideal, but it is what it is. So trainer, first of all, is going. You could potentially keep him, but look, I don't know. Just the fact that he's been subbed out now, the immediate cash gen, which is what we want, is kind of gone now. What's his break even now? 74. And Melbourne give up scores to defenders. You know what? Let's just and then Hawthorn or West Coast. Let's just have a little sus because I got to trade either him or Zach Reid. What's the go? Noah Bolter, estimated return round 8. So is that 2 rounds? No, it's just 1 round. And then would he go back to being the sub trainer? That's the thing. Yeah, look, I think I'm just going to wipe my hands with it and just get rid of him. All right. And look, Reid, the other guy who I could have traded out, is break even's 14. So at least he can make a little bit of money this week. And then, we'll probably have to flick him next week. But, that's fine. So he goes. Unfortunately, the big sacrifice is Ashcroft has to go. Now, with Ashcroft, he's not a trade out. He's not a trade out by any means. Break even of 12 with an easy matchup against the Saints. But you got to make sacrifices. When you make the mistake of not picking DAICOS last week, you have to pay for it a little bit. And I'm going to have to get rid of DAICOS. I have to get rid of Ashcroft. It is what it is. Had fun, 137k. I traded him in, which was cool. So, I traded in a decent rookie, which, didn't really do at all otherwise. So, shout out to him for, being a good trade, but he has to go. And look, at the end of the day, he's a moneymaker. He's not going to be in the final team. If it means he's got to go, he's got to go. So he goes, and Kako is going to go as well. So what this allows us to do is actually, first of all, Stone's going to be moved back into the forward line. We can move. We don't need to move track there. That's fine. Sheasel's going back into the defense. The 2 downgrades we're doing, Carroll and Elijah Hewett. Now, Elijah Hewett is a little bit of a risk, I would say. He's a little bit of a risk because we're paying up for him. We're getting him back into the team. But if we have a little look at him, -8 break even, which the break even will get better because he had a 22 in that little cycle. Hawks, tough matchup. Let's say, if he gets the midfield minutes, which I think he will after the second half performance last week, he gets a 60. Then against Melbourne, we'll go 70. Against Richmond, we'll get a little 75. We'll be a bit, be friendly to him. And then after that, who cares, right? Let's just look at these 3 weeks. 20, 28, that's about 70, right? That's about 70 there. About 90k over the next 3 weeks. And he's a fieldable option. And I'm hoping that it can sort of replace Ashcroft's scoring. That's what I'm hoping, right? It might not. We might, be 10 to 15 points, maybe 20 points in the negatives there. But that's okay when, you've got the money now to go get the big dog in DAICOS. And, poetically, they just put the VC on him for me. I think it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. We're bringing in Carroll, who hopefully has another 2-3 weeks, to make a little bit of cash. Hewett, hopefully can make a little bit of cash. Hewett can come on for Stone. We have a decent starting option. We're going to move Hewett to the flex position so we have a nice full forward, full 6 forwards there, just because it looks better. And then we can loop Marias, who plays against North, if he plays. If he doesn't get dropped, then he plays. He's got North, so we give up points to everyone. So that's kind of cool. And we can loop in between Gross and if Nevitt plays, which is good because they both play late. So I'll know basically if I need to take a Nevitt or Gross score, it's whoever's not the sub. And if Nevitt goes into the game against Carlton not as the sub and not dropped for that matter, then he'll go in. And then we're going to be leaving it to Gross after that. He'll probably be the sub. But anyway, look, that's what we're going to be doing. Reid, not trustworthy, unfortunately, like we would have hoped. And Pryor comes on, and he's pretty solid. So, look, there's still a little bit of cash there to be used over the next couple of weeks. So Pryor and Reid can be used. Hewett eventually will be able to use that. Now, it's sort of leaving us in a tough position. Now, I'll show you some planning. Do one of these ones. So we'll do some forward thinking around, what would it be, around 7 trades? We have 5K left over, so outs. Remaining salary is healthy 5K. Now, Pryor would be one to go. Potentially would be one to go. And we're going to just be conservative at 292 with Pryor. Ooh. And so Pryor, yeah, so 292 Pryor. Then who next? Reid, definitely Reid. He'll have to go because all of a sudden he'll have problems because of that 38. He'll have problems. 280. But I'm going to be conservative. Look, unless maybe Reid could potentially get a big score against Collingwood, and then you look at North and think he'll probably do okay against us, and I don't know. Look, so 280K for him. Most likely Reid goes. Now, with those two alone, it's not enough to really get anyone good, but we have, your selection of Stone, Cleary, Hall, Nevitt, Marias, Lindsay, so Rook, whatever Rook, 190K. Now, if we bring the old calcy out, and we go, so 292 plus 280 plus 190 plus 5. Now, this would be the last boost we have. And negative, say 250. We got 517K to spend, which isn't a lot. And there's not going to be a lot of options for us. But look, that's an option. That's an option that we can, do. But look, say and this is where missing out on Flynn, I'm not as concerned with. I'll show you why. Because if we look at the injury list, there's a dude we can go early on, perhaps 1 or 2 weeks. Mills could be back next week, and then we can go Pryor and Reid down, or Pryor and Reid, 1 down, 1 up, and potentially even one of those bad rooks. We can go one of them down to Tunstall and go Pryor or Reid up to Mills. What's Mills' price? I think at that what's this? I think at that, if I'm getting rid of Reid and a crappy rook for Mills and Tunstall, right? Forget if it's Tunstall, because we don't know if he's going to get dropped. I think I'd just do it. I'd do it. I'd take Mills on his first round, take the risk. It is what it is. To have a rookie off field, and it would be, probably a Reid off field. Well, he's already off field, but if Pryor does well, he can get. If Pryor doesn't do so bad, he can go on the bench. If Pryor does well, we could move Sheasel back into the midfield and have Mills starting alongside Bison Pryor. It's risky business. So that would be the two options next week. We can go early on Mills if he's in, or pay $500K around the $520K mark ish for another primo. Now we're sort of leaving it to chance, right? Which is not what we want to do. Potential bring-ins, defenders and midfield. Let's drop our price down. Actually, no. Before we drop the price down, Sinclair is one who, if I decided to wait a week on an upgrade, we'll probably get enough money eventually to go 560 on him in 2 weeks. I think we could manage that for sure. And he's one I'd love to bring in. If not him, who can we go? There's also, where is Dunkley? There's Dunkley, who I think would be a awesome bring in. Now, can you imagine if he gets like a 90 against St Kilda? We'd be able to pick him up. I reckon we could definitely stretch out Pryor, Reid, and a bad rookie, 2 downgrades, and go get him. That would be huge, So I'd be very happy with that. It'd be nice if I didn't have Zorko and then I could trade him in at a cheaper price. But I won't be able to do that. Holmes, maybe. I know he's got a bit of a low break even rather. 88, so probably not, but there's a chance. Richards. Yeah, Richards. No, we're not doing Richards. Yeah, so let's lower the price down just a little bit into our price range. We'll go. I'm just curious. How would it look if I go price per point? Callahan. Yeah, nothing really jumps out at me here. Nothing really jumps out at me. But you know what? Look, I'm sure I can make something work at a cheaper price. Maybe even Bailey Dale, man. Maybe a Bailey Dale. Break even 136. A lot of people would have paid 540 for him. Do I really want him? Nah. But look, we've got to be creative here at this point of the season. We're making the sacrifice. We're gonna get the big dog in DAICOS. So again, we have to make sacrifices here. Now, another interesting one. So we have the Mills situation that we got to consider. Because let's go back to the preseason and remember, Mills, we thought he was going to be a keeper in the defense. That was honestly our thinking. We scroll up to the Saners. Another guy we thought potential keeper, and for me, I was really bullish on this guy, is Philippou, and 1-2 weeks away again. So all of a sudden, there's these 2 potential cheap, mid prices / primos who we could bring in. So I guess missing out on Flynn sucks because of the money, but I've got potentially 1 or 2 of these guys to come in. So look, there's always going to be options coming in, and the fact that we have 2 solid ones like that coming in, I feel like I can miss out on Flynn. It's going to hurt. But we're still getting Hewett, who's going to bring us some money. We're bringing in DAICOS, who we can VC right off the bat. We can captain Brayshaw. We can captain maybe Sherry, because Sherry, I know Sweet's been considered a negating ruckman, but he hasn't really. Last week he gave away 130 to Grundy, and the Koning's versus Geelong. So we've got captain options, but we've got the ultimate VC. Which I can watch that Anzac Day blockbuster and not cry every DAICOS possession. And that's what I was doing against Brizzy. I was watching it and I was just like, that's 15 points right there. That's 20. That's 30. I was pissed. So yeah, look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to sneak over to, actually, before I sneak over to Draftland to show you my pickups in draft, we're going to go to leagues. We're going to go to SC Enjoyers, and we need to give a little shout out to the Hill Giants, which is Georgie. And he had a big score, 2289, my fellow host. And the team, he brought in DAICOS, he VC'd him. And all of a sudden, the team's looking pretty good, man. Team's looking pretty good. Look, he's got Clark and Dale, who I think suck, but that's fine. That's not the worst. He'd probably cash in on O'Sullivan, I'm imagining. Davidson. So he's still got and he's still got Levi there, marriage. So he's got money to spend here, man. So he's gonna have a little bit of fun this week with his trades. He's gonna have a lot of fun. So yeah, shout out to Georgie. Just a quick one there. Draftland detour as per tradition. I did some pickups here. I did a couple. Oh man, as per tradition again, slow internet when we move into Draftland. We'll go to, here we go, transactions. Ooh, a little and a fresh one, Hellas FC, bringing in Bailey Williams for Crispy. Let's have a look at Crispy. Not good this year. Yeah, we'll look at him. We'll look at him on the waivers. MA Lakers bringing in Gunston. But look, so here's what happened. Sam Taylor went. He was my number one option. He goes. That's fine. We're bringing Worrell, who last year, if you remember last year, he was a mid-80s guy somehow. There's more mouths to feed at the minute in Adelaide, so that's probably why his scores are a bit lower. But I'm willing to test the waters on it. And Henry, I wavered him back in, even though he's injured. And the reason is, we look at the points per minute, early days, 8, and then the 1.1. That 51 against Melbourne, I enjoyed. I brought him in that week, and I enjoyed that 51, even though, he went and got injured. So look, I'm thinking, when he comes back, hopefully we have a half-decent defender, because the defense has been sort of lacking. But yeah, then this week we are going to loop Robertson Long, because I still don't trust Long 100%, but, should be all right. And I'll be looping, so Roberts with Worrell, and then Ned Long. If he doesn't get a good score, we're going to just get rid of Duggan and take a flyer on whoever. But the rest of the team's solid. Jack Graham's been solid. The forward line is what makes this draft side. It really does. But anyway, back to this. This is what we're doing. DAICOS comes in we're taking a hit. We're taking a hit with Levi Ashcroft. But I think it's going to be worth it, to be honest with you. We're trading 3 rookies and we're getting DAICOS in. So come on, it's not too bad. And then the cash gen of Carroll and Hewett should be, pretty solid too. So that's what we're doing. Let me know what you think about, this decision. Like and subscribe, all that. Thank you very much. See you on the next one. Bye.